neither one. It's a good one.
Good evening, everyone. This is the Committee of the Whole meeting of the DeKalb City Council on December 11, 2017. Prior to the start of our meeting this evening, if anybody would like to speak to the one agenda item, and that is the Public Protection Classification Summary Report, please fill out a speaker request form and give it to our city clerk. With that, I'd have City Clerk Sue Herman call the roll, please.
Jacobson? Finucane?
Here.
Markwart?
Here.
Fagan?
Here.
Noriko? Here. Verbeek?
Here.
Favor?
Here.
Smith?
Here.
7 present.
There's one consideration during this Committee of the Whole meeting this evening, and that is Public Protection Classification Summary Report as prepared by the Insurance Services Office, Inc. Our Fire Chief, Eric Hicks, is going to give us the report tonight. Eric?
Good evening, Mayor, Council, and staff. It's an honor to present this on behalf of all participating departments in the city. That would be Fire, Public Works, and Dispatch. So what is ISO? ISO is an independent company that serves insurance companies, communities, fire departments, insurance regulators, and others by providing information about and data about fire risk and the community's ability to respond to those risks. Why is this classification important? Insurance companies use the ISO rating for marketing, underwriting, and to help establish fair premiums for homeowners and commercial fire insurance. It's also for new businesses that look for the city. Oh, sorry. New businesses also look at this for quality fire protection, which incorporates the water system and telecommunicators also. And it also has to do with commercial rates. Commercial rates is the ISO rate drops by 1 to 2% for each point that the ISO rate will drop. Residential rates will vary greatly by different companies. How is a public classification calculated? It's calculated on a scale of 105.5 points. The fire department has the majority of that at 50%, water system at 40, communication at 10, and there's a new category this year called community risk reduction, which is 5.5 points. The ISO classification in 2012 was 65 points. Our new ISO rating will be an ISO 2. So we were a 4 in 2012, and today we're going to be an ISO 2, which is a substantial increase. Public classification numbers. The city earned, I'm happy to say, an 80.02, which earns us a Class 2, raising us 2 classes in ratings. We did that by our communication and dispatch. We were at 9.21 out of 10, so we're almost 100% rating for our dispatch center. A lot of that was done by the new police station. We added a lot of new electronics. We added some dispatcher hours and some backup generators. Greatly helped our dispatch rating. Fire department also increased. We went to 38.36 out of 50. Our water supply, 28.97 out of 40, and our community risk reduction was 4.34 out of 5.5. We did take a slight 8.6% deduction for divergence for the water supply service scores to make it even out. So here's how it all played out. So out of the 10 points for the community, for the dispatch center, we received 3 out of 3 for emergency reporting, 3.36 out of 4 for telecommunicators on duty, and for our dispatch circuits, 2.61 out of 3. So we basically got all the points we could possibly get out of our dispatch center. It was very, very good to see that. So I want to talk about what we've improved since 2012 in our dispatch. And in 2012, we scored 7.3. Today, we scored 9.21. So we added telecommunicators on duty, and like I say, we added dispatch circuits, and we also added the backup generator and the monitoring to our dispatch circuits. So improvements from the new police station greatly helped that. The fire department accounted for 50% of that classification. So you can see up here, our engine companies. We have 3 engine companies. We received 5.79% out of 6 for our engine companies. We received 0.46 out of a half a point for our reserve companies. Our pumper capacity, we have great capacity in our engines, so we received 3 out of 3. Our new ladder truck made a difference, 3.62 out of 4. And I'll get to our reserve ladder truck in a minute, but we received 0.47 out of 0.5 for reserve ladder truck. Deployment analysis, 5.10 out of 10. Company personnel, 12.12 out of 15. 5.62 out of training out of 9. And operational consideration received 2 out of 2. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about how we got this score in the fire department. We basically did ISO twice this year. Our first rating came up at 78.5. They give you a kind of a do-over, a chance to do it again. So we sat down and looked at it, and we thought, well, we can get to an ISO 2. From an ISO, we made ISO 3 on the first go-around. We thought, let's see what we can do for a 2. So we did some research. So we had to do a lot of training. So our personnel logged about 1,000 hours in the training tower in some of the hottest days of the month. And then we also went out and did some community risk reduction. So ISO suggested we go out and visit every daycare in the city. There's about 40 daycares in the city, so we sent our personnel out to every daycare in the city and put a presentation on for the kids under 5. Still, we were half a point shy. So we did some research. We had the ladder truck we couldn't sell. We've been trying to sell it for quite a while. We haven't had any interest in it. So what we did, put the old ladder truck back in service. We were able to get a local vendor to do some repairs on it. They came out and tested it, and we were able to get that put back in service. That's, in theory, what put us over the edge, over the 80 points to get our ISO. Also, another big improvement was the drill tower. Gave us quite a few points, the one that was approved a couple years ago. Community risk reduction, like I say, another big area, commercial building inspection program. We received minor points for this. It was only enacted about a year and a half when this program had started, so we anticipate quite a few more points here coming up in the near future. You're also going to start seeing fire safety messages in the water bills. One was put out in July, and we'll be putting out them annually. ISO requires an annual message to all citizens. They don't count Facebook, they don't count websites. It has to be something that's mailed out to all citizens. So we're using the water bill as a medium to get that out. And also, we stepped up our game in the fire safety education program in the schools. So this year, we were able to hit every grade school, and we had a couple of high school talks too. So out of 5.5 points, we got 4.34 out of community risk reduction. So a very respectable score out of there also. Water supply. Out of 40 possible points, the city earned 28.97 points. So we did fall off a little bit on inspection and condition of the hydrants, and we also fell off a little bit in our system supply, which I'll let Director Holdeman talk about if you'd like to in a minute. We are in need of a water model. Our current water model is expired, and we have to do some hydrant maintenance in order to get some points. So ISO is a 5-year process. We worked on last ISO starting in 2012 up until today. Now we have to start working on the next ISO. So here's what you have to look forward to in 2022. We've identified 9.98 points to be in ISO 1. So out of that 9.8 points that we would need, there's 24 possible points to get that. So how do you achieve that? Communications, you could add 0.79 points. I don't see much we could add in communications. They had a very respectable score this time. There's really not much we could do in there. Fire department, there's 8.1 points possible for the fire department. This is an easy one, acquire additional ladder service equipment, that's just buying a few things. Perform a deployment analysis and reallocate equipment. That's going to be tougher to do because you're going to have to add stations. So ISO requires a ladder truck no more than 2.5 miles from any fire station, or an engine company 1.5 miles from a fire station. There's also, the thing you always recommend is increase daily staffing. We know these are hard things to do, but there are ways that we can get this ISO 1. Another way, fire service training. We can add fire service training. So with our new training tower, we only had the training tower for 2 years, so we'll have that for 5 years in the next time. So we'll be able to add points for training. So we should add about 3 points for training. I believe this is very easily attainable. Community risk reduction, 1.16 points. That is also something that's very easily attainable. Water supply. Here's where we can make our biggest and easiest points. By reinstituting the Hydrant Inspection Maintenance Program and upgrading our water model. The water model has not been upgraded for quite some time. Like I say, at the last ISO evaluation, we'd had just a recent upgrade, and also maintenance and inspection. Currently, there's 2,400 hydrants in the city. It takes about 600 staff hours to do the maintenance on those hydrants annually. Countrywide, here's how we fared. We fared in the top 1,600 of all fire departments in the United States. Out of 46,000 departments, our organization, citywide, fared in the top 1,300 on ISO 2. So we did very well countrywide. In Illinois, we fared well also again in the top 85 departments in the state of Illinois. So that's another good thing. So here's the fire protection district. We supply fire protection to the district by contract. So the old rating in the fire protection district was a 6. It's going to drop to a 2 within 5 road miles of any fire station. After that, some of those people are going to see an increase in fire insurance because their rating is going to go to a 10. So there's going to be some people with a reduction and some people with it's going to have a higher rating. So you can see the small area in white. That is the area that's less than 5 or more than 5 miles, road miles from fire station number 2. Okay, here's what everyone wants to know. What's ISO do for us? Well, it's going to save money for the premiums. Talk to a local insurance broker. It's going to save on a house that's valued, insured at about $150,000. It's going to save the homeowner between $12 and $25. I verified this through a couple of different agents, so it's pretty solid information. That's if your policy and your broker uses ISO as one of the rating methods. A commercial building owner is going to probably see about a $180 reduction each year if their building is valued at $2 million. So assuming about 50% of the homes use ISO for rating and 50% of the commercial buildings we have in town use ISO for a rating, the overall savings to the community is going to be about $127,000, which is a pretty substantial amount. So in closing, I want to thank the firefighters and all the other departments, dispatch and public works, and the mayor, city, and council for your support in establishing this goal. I'll take any questions right now.
Well, this is just excellent news, Eric, and congratulations. Please pass the plaudits to your men and women in the fire department of our real pleasure in this report. Now, I'm going to open up to any comments. Alderman Noriko.
Well, I want to echo those congratulations. I realize it was a lot of hard work and research and so forth. So again, congratulations. But also, I have a question about the hydrant inspection. Is that something that's done by the fire department or by Public Works?
Public Works. I'll let Director Holman speak on that.
Public Works has a program where we paint approximately 250 hydrants a year and perform maintenance on 500. That's a cycle of about every 5 years, which in the past has given us some credit, but they made the criteria a little bit more difficult this year, and so we didn't get any points for operating for our maintenance on that schedule. Superintendent Favor and I have been discussing how we might be able to step that up for next summer. And we had already planned to do the hydraulic modeling update. That hydraulic model was updated several years ago. It was used in conjunction with the rate study and some of the capital improvement programs that we have ongoing now. We haven't had a need to upgrade it, but certainly we will over the next period for the ISO rating.
And I also wanted to make a point that, as you noted, we lost some points in terms of some training issues. And as we've been looking at the budget, we kind of had to take away some training dollars. And this shows kind of the domino effect of that. Training so often is, one of those, first and easy things to take off. But again, there are consequences.
I believe we lost 2 points for company officer training, and you can look, I believe that's back on the budget for later on tonight.
Okay, thank you.
Any additional comments? Alderman Fagan.
Well, Chief, obviously, this is my business, is insurance and ISO, and how important ISO is and the rating. And I'm trying to guess, probably in the late 80s, I believe we were a 6, and then we dropped to a 5, but I never thought we'd get to a 2 when you're doing an excellent job, especially taking it upon yourself to go ahead and being so close to get this thing done. And I think the other point that you brought out was businesses looking at DeKalb, and they do look at the ISO rating, and it does make a big difference. And it's a lot with the fire department. It has to do a lot with the water department, the mains and everything like that. But I just want to thank you. You did an excellent job.
I really think ISO 1 is attainable at very low cost to the city. It's just going to take some effort and time to get it done.
When it was 5 and 6, I never thought we'd be down to a 2. So you did a great job.
Like I say, it's a 5-year plan, so it's not something you have to start now for the next 5 years.
Right. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? I have one comment, and perhaps it's a question, and I'm going to put my good friend Pat Fagan on the spot here too, since he's in the business. Invariably, when I look at my homeowner's insurance plan, I know what my house is probably worth and what the resale value is, the market value. I know what the assessed value, but there's this thing called replacement value, which is usually almost double what the assessed value is. You talked about the ISO ratings in terms of the insurance. What are they looking at there? Are they looking at the assessed value, the market value, the replacement value?
No, what they're doing is, and I want to talk about this on the savings on the insurance.
Yeah, please.
What they do is they take on the reconstruction of the house, of the structure itself. So, and they look at it from a catastrophe point of view, as if like something like Plainfield, where it wiped out half the town. So they look at it at a cost of replacing your house. So if you did lose your house and your entire neighborhood, it wouldn't be the same price as if you had to rebuild it. It would be as if you'd had to go over and find just pick out a general contractor. He's going to go over and put the price. But with the savings and the money that they're talking about is, you got to remember, if your premium is, let's say, $700-800 on your home, that savings is off your fire premium, not your theft coverage, not your liability, but it's just off the fire premium.
Off the fire premium, right?
Right.
Okay, great. Thank you, Pat. Any other comments or questions?
If I can add one thing, Mayor?
Yes, please.
This new rating takes effect March 1st, so I would encourage all residents out there to spend some time and visit with their insurance agent here in the next few months and see what this can do for them.
Great, thank you very much. And I understand in talking to the city manager this afternoon that we are going to have a news release issued on this ISO, and so hopefully it will get out into the media and alert people that perhaps they would be wise to check with their insurance companies. Yes, Pat?
How that will work is, it will not affect their insurance premium until renewal.
Okay.
And every company will take it upon themselves to enter in the new ISO rate. They'll go ahead and put that into their system. So if you just renewed in September, you gotta wait till September to get
Sure.
the actual impact. So that's how it all happens.
But it would probably behoove someone to at least check with their insurance company.
Oh, absolutely.
To, see what their benefit might be. Mike, did you have a question or a comment?
No.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay, Eric, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. We've had no speaker request forms for any, for this particular issue, Misty?
Well, I was wondering if I could speak now since I have another engagement and I might not be here when the full council is meeting.
Yes, because I was going to say, if someone would like to speak to an item not listed on this agenda, they may be. Please.
Would you like this?
Yes. And then if you go to the,
Certainly.
and who are you? Identify yourself, please.
Hello, I'm Misty Haji Sheikh. I live in the 5th Ward. And I came to you tonight on a couple of things that you're going to talk about in the next session. Number one, I wanted to speak about resident parking. I happen to live on Park Avenue, which is a very congested street. In the 15 years that I have lived there, our neighborhood was asked, can you do something for us? This was back in 2009 or so. It's too congested, there's too many people, can you come up with a plan? Some of you have heard me speak about this plan before. It came before council and it was approved. And what our neighborhood worked 2 years on was getting to the point where we would ask for some TIF dollars to take homes from a willing seller that had been converted from a single-family residence into a multifamily, and we were going to take that type of resident and move it back into single-family. That was approved by council, and then it was tabled. And the next thing we know, council has a different idea of what they're going to do. And from that time on, our neighborhood was not looked at. There's a yellow curb in front of my house where the school bus pulls up many times a day because for a lot of years, kindergartners were picked up and dropped off twice a day because there was a morning session and an afternoon session. Elementary schools were picked up and dropped off twice a day because there was school and then there was an after-school bus. The same for middle school and the same for high school. So as you can see, that was a very busy corner. The bus still picks kids up there every day, and yet, because we are next to the college, the university, I can understand poor students don't want to pay for a parking pass, but when they park on that yellow curb repeatedly, and up until this year, and honestly, Chief Lowry, it may have been more than a year, when we would call in, we would have an officer come out and the officer would tell me, I'm sorry, but we don't write tickets for that. Seriously. Now, Chief Lowry asked me, he said, hey, Misty, can you keep an eye out for me? And I said, I'd be happy to. So for about a week, because I've been gone the last 10 days, took a little trip down to a business conference in Australia, so don't quite have full data for you, Chief. But I did call for a week or so whenever I could catch somebody there, just to let them know that this car was there. And we probably you probably came out 5 to 7 times in that week because of cars parking there. This is not something that happens just 5 days or 7 days. It happens every time school's in session. That's a violation of the law, and we're not getting that seen to. And when that became the norm for us, we didn't complain about everything else. But in talking to my fellow residents, many of them would prefer residents-only parking. It's being done in other sections of the city. Why can't it be done for us? That seems only logical. Another part of the city that's doing this is over at Fox Hollow. They don't have near the traffic problems we do. We have a major line where I live on the corner there. Miller into Lucinda is where every single emergency vehicle going to the university must pass. They cannot use Hillcrest because of the speed bumps. It ruined a couple of vehicles. When I first moved here, I spent several $1,000s fixing a fire truck because it was ruined going over those speed humps. So they have to come by my house. So it's a very, very busy intersection. And yet, there's a stop sign there in 4 directions, and that stop sign is run repeatedly. I've been standing on that corner with a uniformed officer, not in the last few weeks, mind you, this has been a couple years ago, when a UPS truck sped right by it. Sped right by us. We're standing there in broad daylight. People do not recognize that. So that area is very, very busy. And the way to reduce some of that business is to not have so many cars parked along it. They park along Miller just like they park along Park, even though the signs clearly say no parking at this hour of the day. And so what I wanted to talk to you on that was I want to thank Chief Lowry for trying to help out our neighbors, and I want to speak for myself and the neighbors that have asked me to, that we are in favor of residents-only parking. I realize it will have hiccups and it may not be a perfect system, but we're willing to try something to help out, as we were before, and we would like to have you take a serious look at this. The second thing, and I'll be very brief, is on budget. Now, being on the county board, I also have to pass budgets, and I have to do things when dollars are tight and we just don't have enough money for things. And so as a citizen, I'm very disappointed to see you approving major pay raises for high-paid individuals when we can't get our streets fixed and we don't have dollars to do many, many things. When I was being raised, my parents said, if you can't afford it, you don't buy it. And so my position on the county board, I make $83 up to 4 times a month. That's it, for all the work that we do. And I don't complain. It's what I signed up for. It's what I was elected to do, and I'm happy to do it. But when it came time for me to vote this last go-around, I made some people unhappy because I voted against their raises. I've never voted for a raise for myself in all the time I've been on there, and I can't see voting for a raise for somebody else who makes lots of money to begin with. The argument I hear in that is, well, if we don't pay them a lot, we can't get good help. No. What you pay somebody for, what you give them a raise for, is for doing the job right. But that comes from the time when you have the money to do it. If you don't have the money to do it, raises don't go out. It's that simple. So I just wanted to express those 2 views with you. Thank you very much for your time. I'll be happy to answer your questions.
Okay. Thank you, Misty. Any response or questions from anyone? Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Now, since Misty did speak to an item that was not on the agenda for the Committee of the Whole meeting, anyone else? If not, I would ask for a motion to adjourn the Committee of the Whole.
Make that motion.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned as a Committee of the Whole. City Council meeting starts at 6 o'clock.
Do we go into executive session?
No executive session.
Good call. Time to eat.
No, that's good.
Yeah.